you think?
Oh,
of that?
that's smashing. I like that. Awesome. Kerry's picture, I think, is the best one on there.
Yeah.
That was absolutely phenomenal.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's the new intro. But yeah, so welcome everybody.
It froze on my one, and I was like, what's this?
Welcome everybody. We're back again. We are joined tonight by a very special guest, Mr. Wes Coleman. So thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
And so tonight we're going to be talking about like haunted prisons, but mainly we're going to be talking about like the work you do, obviously with cops, and then what you've been and what you've done. So for people who don't know, in the comments, like a bit of your background, like where you've been and what you do now.
Well, I've been a correctional officer for 27 years, and that's been an experience in itself.
Hey, CEO! CEO, open that gate, CEO!
Yeah. It's more like key up, copper, and a few other words I won't even say.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Do you have some experience? Just asking. Or?
I do. Yes, I do. I was locked up twice, actually.
Oh, okay.
So he doesn't have a positive experience.
Yeah, so I've been on the other side.
All right, so you guys have a good night. We'll see you later. Yeah, so anyway, sorry. So I've been a correctional officer for 27 years, and about 13 years ago, I decided to create a paranormal team because I was so interested in it from a very young age. And I thought, oh, what a great idea to get some correctional officers together and form a team. Now, that's kind of not an easy thing to do. It takes a little bit of guts to come forward to talk to my fellow officers who, are not the real type to kind of delve into the paranormal. They're more kind of macho, kind of that kind of mentality. And so it was a bit of a difficult struggle for me to, get the courage and not be labeled after that for being, a nerdy kind of guy. But I addressed my emergency response team, which I belong to, and 3 guys stepped forward, and we just kind of went from there. And we started our team. We were trained by an investigator that doesn't live too far away from us, who has a group called Canadian Haunting and Paranormal Society, which is called CHAPS. And he kind of took us under his wing and showed us the do's and the don'ts. Became highly recommended because I wanted to do it in a very professional way. I didn't want kind of one of these fly-by-night teams. So he took us under his wing, taught us what to do, and that's when COPS was formed.
That's very cool of you. And I'm sorry to cut in, but I understand completely where you're coming from about how it must have been very difficult to approach, and to just make the initial reach out, because there are, and this is a topic we've discussed a lot, where there's just a lot of people that don't subscribe to that line of thinking, but especially in your line of work, there's an awful lot less of them. So kudos to you. That was awesome. That was really cool.
Yeah, it certainly was challenging, but doing paranormal stuff isn't what it was like 20 years ago. It's a lot more. People know a lot more about it, and some of the it's more scientifically based now than it ever was before. I mean, we're really trying to get through to the answers, which of course, I mean, we've gotten some things, but whether they're paranormal or not, it's always a question. We can't say 100% if something's paranormal.
Right.
So anyway, yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So is this something that you've just been interested in, or have you had like experiences that started your interest in it, in the paranormal?
Excuse me. Well, years ago when I was a teenager, I actually saw a face in a window at my friend's house, and didn't really know, what I just thought it was somebody that was in the window, and he, basically told me there's nobody home. And I said, well, I just saw somebody in there. Maybe we should go in and check, and there was nobody in there. And it was kind of a face that you kind of thought, okay, yeah, this isn't just a normal face. This is kind of an apparition face. And but as I look back on it now as more of a seasoned investigator, I kind of think it could have been pareidolia. But I'm always, that's the one thing about me and our team is we're always trying to debunk everything as much as possible. So, it could very well have been an apparition. There was an elderly gentleman that died in that house before he moved in. So you never really know. And then actually before that, when I was a youngster, I read a book called Some Canadian Ghosts. I don't know if that comes up very well.
Oh yeah.
But that was, and I'm an old man now, or getting there. So that was back in 1977. The school had, those book fairs that would come every now and again. And
oh yeah, I loved book fairs.
We'll continue to the 90s. I remember those. Yep.
Yeah, and that's where I got the book, and it was called Some Canadian Ghosts by Sheila Hervey. And I started reading that, and I started to get really fascinated in it, and really kind of wanted to get to the bottom of what paranormal activity was. Or they didn't really kind of call it that back then. It was just kind of ghost stuff and that sort of thing. Right. But it was a very interesting book. It caught my imagination, and it wasn't until years later that I actually acted on it.
Yeah. It's funny. Also, again, I'm sorry, but I was watching last night. It was an interview with Dan Aykroyd on Johnny Carson back in '84 when he was promoting the original Ghostbusters movie. And if you know anything about Dan Aykroyd, he is huge into the paranormal. Huge into the paranormal, and he's on Johnny Carson in 1984. Giving all this information. He's got like a picture that his grandfather had, and he's got all these stories, and he's being super serious, and you can hear just the audience. It just reminded me of what you said when you approached your colleagues about it. Only I had to, I can only imagine how crazy that must have been back in the days. Just because people's thinking was very antiquated of the whole deal. But yeah, it took a lot of guts. What you guys do. So,
well, it's funny you should mention Dan Aykroyd. I've met him a couple of times. He actually lives not even 20 minutes away from where I live.
Oh my God.
And,
that's cool.
Nick, get him on the show. Get on this.
He's a hard guy to get a hold of. But,
I can imagine.
He lives just north of Kingston, Ontario. I live in Belleville, which is about a 25-minute drive. But I used to live in Kingston. I work in Kingston at the prisons in Kingston. And I met him several years ago in different situations. But the one that's most memorable, and I think you'll find this kind of funny, is I was out on a lake in a boat. It's called Lowborough Lake. It's quite a big boat. And there was a gentleman that was on a jet ski out in the middle of the lake, and he was trying to start this jet ski. It obviously broke down. And we thought, we'll go over and help him out, get him in and tow him wherever he's going. And what's unusual, and by no means am I racist or anything like that, but it was a black gentleman that was on the jet ski. And for a black guy to be in that area is just very unusual, which is, it's just out of the ordinary. So we went over anyway and said, and we looked at him and we go, oh my God, it's Eddie Murphy.
Oh,
and it was Eddie Murphy, and he was Eddie Murphy?
Yeah.
He was visiting Dan Aykroyd. Dan Aykroyd's house is on that lake. It's a huge lake, and he was on that lake. And so we took him back to Dan Aykroyd's dock, and Dan was like, why don't you guys come in and have a couple drinks with us? And we came in, and we had a couple of drinks, and probably were there 2 or 3 hours, and shot the shit, as we say in Canada.
Nice guy.
Really nice. They're all very nice. Very nice people. The other woman there that was on Saturday Night Live was there too, and I can't remember her name. Radner, I think it was. Maybe
Gilda Radner?
Yeah.
Boy, I know you met Gilda Radner. Okay, that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing.
You met some people.
So it was a real cool experience. So that's my Dan Aykroyd
That's
story.
awesome.
Yeah,
that's freaking awesome, man.
Wes,
That's
I
a
can tell
great
you right
story.
now, funny enough that you mentioned Dan Aykroyd. I mean, one of the other fellow Ghostbusters, Bill Murray. I mean, he actually at times has been a Chicago native. Like he actually comes through here to Chicago several times because he's a huge Chicago Cubs fan. So while I haven't had the opportunity of meeting him, at least not yet, he's got several homes actually throughout the United States. So he one of those locations, one of his favorite locations is Chicago. So the funniest part is there's times where, just like with you and Dan Aykroyd, he's not that far away from me whenever he's around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like and Bill Murray, man, I've been a fan of his since Meatballs. I don't know if you remember that movie.
Oh, yeah.
That was actually filmed in Canada as well. So
Oh, really? Wow.
yeah.
I just think it's ironic that you were, with Dan Aykroyd and you run into Eddie Murphy in Canada in the middle of a lake on a jet ski.
Yeah, and then you bring back and Gilda Radner's hanging out. I'm like, you got Gene Wilder is off in the shower somewhere or something like that.
The whole package and just like some weird off the cuff experience. That's crazy.
They should have made a movie about that.
Yeah, right.
That's freaking awesome. Bill Murray was in Meatballs. I didn't know Bill Murray was in Meatballs.
Yeah. Shout out to everybody in the comments too.
Yes, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. I was gonna ask, like, when you said about obviously, like what Hefty touched on there as well, about the back when you asked about this, about joining this team, it was a bit like, do you think if like maybe a few years before, maybe like when you first started as a prison officer, do you think it would have just been like a no, you just wouldn't mention that sort of thing because of the like stigma behind being like into paranormal?
Well, the one thing, when you're first starting out in corrections, all you do is you sit there and listen. You don't speak because the older guys kind of tell you, what to do and how to do it. And I mean, basically, you're an inmate when you first come in because you can't say anything. It's like the know-it-all mentality is really frowned upon. So the first few years, I was just concentrating on my job and learning more about it. And so it wasn't until probably, I'm thinking 2008. So I would have been in almost 15 years before I decided, I'm going to start talking and asking people if they're interested in doing this. So, and even at that point, I was really nervous about it because, you have a certain reputation on the line. And but then I just thought, what the hell? You only live once, and who cares what other people think? So,
attaboy. All right, man, I like you. So now, just to clarify, you work in the prison system, not like local lockup, not like a county like jail. You work with like lifers, like 3 to 5ers and up.
Yep, absolutely. Canada's federal prison system. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, you're in a federal prison system,
like maximum security then.
I did do a stint, and I say a stint. I'm sounding like an inmate, but I did do a stint.
Hey.
It is what it is. I mean, but I did a stint in a federal or in a maximum institution for a few years, and then I've been in different prisons. I've been in this prison the longest though for probably 18 years. So, but I've certainly got my taste of the different facilities and what they're like to work in.
Yeah. So you must enjoy your job then to stick at it for this long. You must like enjoy being a prison officer.
Yeah, that'll be better than U.S. Correctionals.
Two sides to that
answer. Yeah.
Can you tell by my
not
face
a rewarding career.
I bet you've seen some things in your time, like.
You know what? It is rewarding in a lot of respects. In a lot of respects it isn't, but in a lot of respects it is. I get Christmas cards from inmates that were in the institution 18 years ago. Obviously, don't get them sent to my home. I get them sent to the institution.
Right. That's
And,
the pretty slope, dude. Yeah.
So people saying that, like, you've really turned my life around and you've really helped me out. And, those are things that, even 2 or 3 of those over a career is so rewarding.
You made a difference in somebody's life.
Yeah.
And that's, that's what you get into it for. It's very rewarding in that way.
Good on you, man. I know a lot of correctional officers that just take the power trip and the other approach, and don't view them as people. They're just numbers, and you know what I mean. So kudos, man. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I like this guy.
Definitely. Edward's got a question. I think that's for any of us. He says, in your opinion, do you think the necrophonic is a good app to use? I myself like to use the SB7, but I've used the Necrophonic. But what's your opinion on it? Have you guys ever used a Necrophonic app?
Yeah, I actually got it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, we've got it. Yeah.
Of course, I know you got to pay for it first, before you get it. But the Necrophonic, I think, in my opinion, I mean, it does work in some way. I mean, I prefer to use the actual ghost boxes first before using the Necrophonic. But I will give kudos to this, though. I mean, it's one of the few phone apps that I'll actually use, because most of the paranormal phone apps that exist, I always it actually just showed up. I always usually tell them, if you got any of those other apps, throw them all away, because they're not in the chat. I only use like 3 or 4 of them, and the Necrophonic is one of those. So it works some way. It just depends. You just got to listen really carefully to see if what you're hearing is actually accurate.
Yeah.
Not a sponsored video.
But what we found with it, like, there's a lot of talk. Like, it's constantly talking, like, all the time, and then like every now and then it will just like say a word that means something. What are you doing?
Me? Oh, I'm just eating these delicious ice cubes.
Oh my God!
Yes, this show is sponsored by Ice Cube's Icebreakers.
Are you kidding me?
I wondered what you guys were planning when we started.
Wes, if you don't understand,
All we did was right there was just take an ad break.
So the last couple of shows, I've been eating these ice cubes. They're sugar cubes, and it became like a constant routine. Unfortunately, the grocery store I work at, they haven't been selling them. But I could see, though, that Adam and Marty, they got my sugar cubes. Damn it!
That's crazy. Kerry, have you used like apps and stuff for like?
Yeah, I've got a few actually. Me and my husband have got. I've got the SB7 box, which I love. But we've also got this. What's the stick figure one? I forget the actual name where you see it.
SLS.
Yeah, the SLS camera. Yeah.
And then we've got. I like just old school dictaphone, and then myself as a sensor. I haven't got the app you're talking about. I have been thinking about it. But I sort of like the old school stuff, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I from us, because we've used it, and is it £10 over here? Mm-hmm. It's like I wouldn't buy it. Really, there's cheaper things to get and better things. It's good, but we've not had much luck with it. And
this is it. When I've seen it online and on TV, sometimes it looks fantastic. Other times, like
it's one of these. It's like a gimmick. It's been jumped on and hyped up more than what it is, I think. But yeah, I suppose you don't really need this stuff. No, being a medium, like you just.
Yeah, I don't know why you have any apps or anything. They're already there.
It don't work like that, unfortunately.
Wes, have you used these apps? Do you use like apps and stuff, or are you more the old school kind of methods?
Well, anything that has the prefix necro before it, and working in a prison, it's just that's something I'm really interested in. You know what I mean?
I really like this guy.
Yeah.
Very dark sense of humor. Sorry.
You're in the right place, my friend.
Yeah. Some of the apps are okay. I mean, I think they're all like, even equipment, it's just, they're guides, right? I mean, we don't really know if they work for sure. We've had some interesting things happen. I'm a big proponent of the Estes method, using the ghost box and having somebody like a double-blind experiment where you do get information that's sometimes it's just incredible, and there's no other way to explain it other than that possibility is there, that it's a message from the other side.
That's it. What he just said. That's what I believe Chantel, one of the other shows we did, she asked about that. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but you put somebody in a room, put a blindfold on them, you put somebody else in a different room, and they start asking questions, and you're getting responses. So there's no way they would know. They can't hear any of the things that are going on. So
yeah, that's definitely one way to do it. The way we do it is, we hook our earphones up to the ghost box, and you're hearing nothing but the white noise of the ghost box. It's quite loud, and you're blindfolded, and one of the observers starts asking questions, and you're spitting out anything that the person that's under is spitting out the words that he hears on the ghost box.
Yeah.
But there's a bit of a variation to that, because I used to be so much into the debunking, the science. Everything was all about the science, and I had a rude awakening one day when I was under the Estes method, and I was starting to get information that I wasn't even sure if I was hearing it on the ghost box, if it was just coming into my mind. And so I was starting to answer these questions, and the facilitator, the observer, was getting responses to that. And it was crazy. I couldn't believe it. Like I'm just shocked. We did it at a certain location where I got the feelings that somebody had been raped, a woman had been raped, and it turned out it was the owner of the building that we were in, and I, like, the tears are just rolling down my face. I'm like, where am I? Like, how is this happening? Because I'm so methodically driven. Like it was just so. At one time, again, I was very scientifically motivated, but now I've opened the doors up to other things too. So it's interesting.
We need to try. I think next time we do a video, do that. Yeah. That's the because we've never done anything like that. We've always we sit there and just listen to it, and then sometimes we play, because we play it back when we do the videos. We put our videos onto our channel and that, and then even when you play it back, you can hear something different, and then I play it to these guys, and then they'll hear something different, and but I think that method, it's perfect, because if you can't hear what the questions are being asked, and you give a straight answer to that question, what's the chances of that? It's almost none.
It's incredible. It's just incredible. Yeah, absolutely have to try it. Google it, and you'll get the precise methodology to it. But it's incredible, and my work. I don't know if do you guys know Richard Estep, the author, paranormal author?
Yep.
Well, I work for him. I'm one of his investigators on the. I do the cops thing, but I also work with him on the side, and I've been in a couple of his books, and that he's a very big guy on the Estes method, and we've had so many results with it. It's just, and I'm telling you, you read his books, and what he has written is so genuine. Like, the guy is just like, he doesn't pull any punches or anything like that. It's not like some of the TV shows. What you read in his books are actually what happened, and a lot of it's history. Sometimes you'll have a place where you might not get a lot of activity, and we all know places like that, right? Like, where you might go there one night and nothing will happen,
right?
And so he, but we go usually for 4 days, and it's not only just during the night, it's day, night, day, night, day, night, and we're getting a couple hours sleep here and there, and it's absolutely phenomenal.
That's fantastic. Like, we found that, like, with ours at the moment, because we collect haunted dolls, and at first we had loads of activity, but now this past month, nearly 2 months, we've had nothing. We keep filming, getting nothing, even with some dolls that were so active that you could just sit there 5 minutes and get activity, but now it's just gone, it's dried up completely. And it's disheartening, because, like, you know what it's like when you go on investigation and you want stuff to happen, and you sit there and you spend your time doing something, nothing happens. You think, why do I bother? Isn't it? It's not.
It's funny, because there's so many other things that could affect why paranormal activity is stronger on some nights than others. Thunderstorms, as we all know, create the energy.
Yes.
The moon cycle. The place, like, if there was some kind of an anniversary to the date of somebody's killing, or there's all these different these different things that could possibly lead to greater activity, and you just kind of have to hit it at the right time. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't.
Well, I definitely agree with that, because a few years ago we were at a place called the Mineral Springs Hotel, which was down in Alton, Illinois. And we had this really nasty. So this was when the Mississippi River was still flooded in several areas, and we had a very nasty storm that showed up. We also had a tornado briefly come out of that one too. Not the one earlier this week, but when the storm passed, it was almost like as if the storm became kind of like stationary, if you will. I mean, there was just a constant amount of lightning that went on. And when we had the investigation at the Mineral Springs Hotel, and I think probably the combined effects of this lightning and this the flooding of the Mississippi River, the activity just went right through the roof, and we ended up seeing the apparition of a little girl. And the weirdest part was we all saw her differently. Like, no two encounters were the same. In fact, I should have brought with. We actually got a sketch of what this girl looked like, but I don't think we've ever chosen a night better than that night, because it was all charged up that night. We just
Nick, was that in the upstairs, or was it down towards the pool? I have investigated there too. Awesome place.
Oh, you have been there. Okay. That was actually on the top floor.
Okay.
So at first I didn't even notice what was going on, because the rest of the crew was just standing there like, what's going on? And then they point down and you start seeing these little feet developing. It goes to a skirt. And then all of a sudden there's this, you see the upper half of this little girl with long blonde hair. Looked like she was, based on her clothes appearance. I mean, what am I thinking of? The attire. Yeah. Based on the attire, she looked like she had to have been anywhere between, I would have to probably say somewhere between 1900 to maybe 1920.
Wow.
Kerry, I've got a question, because obviously we're talking about like obviously different things affect activity. Is it the same with you? Like obviously with your like doing the mediumship and obviously when you're speaking to spirits, does it depend on like environmental factors and depend on how strong they are as well?
It depends more on myself, my energy, and how I feel within myself that day, and the spirit person I'm communicating with, and also obviously their energy and how they're feeling that day. Good question about the environment. Possibly. I've never actually thought about it. It could actually play a good factor in it. Yeah.
So it's more like the case of like if you're having like, I don't know, if you're tired that day, you're not going to get as much.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I always meditate before I do any readings, because I'm trying to raise my vibration, because where they're coming down, I want to meet somewhere in the middle with them. And that's where the communication is. And I do that through meditation.
Yeah. I don't suppose you can talk to our dolls, stop being more active.
Yeah,
Are you sure you want it in your home?
Good point, though, like, I think, because I think that's because with us, I mean, this past, like I said, since the activity stopped, we have been like working really hard. When we've been doing the videos, we've been really tired, and like we've just been trying to. You're sitting there like falling asleep, like trying to film, and I suppose that's having the same sort of effect, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. I always find as well with haunted locations, like you guys will know, that it can be overdone a little bit. I'm not saying that your dolls are overdone because you haven't had them long enough, but they may be feeling like, I just don't want to play tonight. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I'm quite happy just watching from the sides. I don't want to communicate. So maybe do give it a little bit of a break. And then, like I said, I can't remember if it was last week or week before, try and sort of catch them off guard, lock off a room with them. Don't talk to them. Don't think just leave a camera locked off. I know it's hours and hours of footage you've got to sit back and watch, but I suppose this is part of what we do, really, isn't it? Yeah. Sitting back.
Yeah, Tom.
Yep.
So.
I'll probably miss some amazing evidence.
I've sent hours and hours and not got a bloody thing at times, and it's been honestly, I've nearly fell asleep in places. It's been that boring. But other nights it's like,
you know, in Canada it's very similar, because watching hours and hours of footage is like watching a football match in England.
I would totally agree.
The one that Scotland to England was 0-0 at the end of the game.
Yeah, exactly. I would totally agree. The last game that we played against Scotland, or the one before the last one, it was like that. It's like watching paint dry.
I really like this guy.
Yeah. You can rip off football as much as you like. Honestly, it's so bad at the moment.
Wes, I do have a question for you, though, sir. So, jails and prisons, just by their nature, are places that kind of when you walk into one, man, it's heavy,
Mm-hmm.
whether they're haunted or not. Are there any particular ones that you have either worked at or currently work at or have been to? I know it's kind of an all-encompassing blanket statement that really just kind of unsettled you, or when you, like, as soon as you walked in, you were just like, oh man, this is not right, or something's up here rather.
Well, sometimes you walk into the prison and, being, as I said, a 27-year veteran, when you walk in through that gate or through the door or whatever the prison may be, you just get a feeling if something is bad is going to happen that night, or you just get an idea how the jail's working. And same as the paranormal too. When you walk in, some days it's like, yeah, it just seems like a normal day, and then other days it's like, okay, something's not right
Something's
here.
amiss.
Like on the spiritual side, like you have two. Like I have two different sides. I've developed my empathic skills over the years, and that's why I say, like, now with the Estes method, I get very emotional during certain things. But now, as I walk into a prison, I get two vibes. I get the vibe of the reality of the situation that's going on that day, and I also get the vibe of what's going on in the spiritual world, and I get that.
Do you think there's a correlation between activity on both sides of things at a certain point?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Some, like, possibly. I'm going to leave that open, but there have been certain days where I go in there and I'm thinking, why the hell did I come to work today? Because
I have those every day.
Yeah, well, so it's kind of interesting. But
that's fascinating.
There are days when I go in and, as a prison setup is when you go in and you have to look in the cells at night when they're sleeping to make sure they're alive.
Yeah.
And as you're looking through the windows, like we have in the place I work at currently, there are doors and they have little windows in them. And when you look through the windows, you obviously see somebody sleeping. But there have been times where I look in and I can see somebody lying down, and I kind of do a double take because I see like this real evil face looking back at me, like this real, like, staring, like, very violently back at me.
Like a hate kind of
and
feeling.
And then, like, I'll walk a little bit and I'll go, did I just see what I thought I saw? And then I'll go back and it's fine.
Well, I think a lot of the energies or spirits that are trapped in prisons or incarceration facilities are less than pleased.
Yeah.
Like if you figure if they were prior guests, not only did they have to spend how much of their mortal lives there, but now they're like stuck there for however long, and it's like, no thanks.
Yeah, we have some interesting guests, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I'll believe that.
I'm not surprised.
The town where I live, I live in Shepton Mallet. It's only a little town, but we've got like the world's oldest UK working prison here. It's shut down now. It did have the Craigs in it, and very famous people. Yeah, actually going to hopefully go there in the next week or two with my daughter. I want to.
I'll be there. I'll be there for a public investigation in May next year. I was supposed to be there in May this year.
What this year?
But it got canceled with MJ Dixon. You know MJ or?
No, I don't know.
Sage Paracon. Anyway, so we're doing a big event there in May of 2022. Richard Estep and I, and so if you're in the area, I mean, by all means, drop by and say hi.
My house is here, and this prison is just over the road.
It's bucket list for me. It's bucket list. I've known about it for years, and I've always wanted to go there.
That's crazy.
We have definitely
Which prison is this, Kerry?
Shepton Mallet in Somerset.
Okay.
It's a very famous. Yeah, you've got to go if you like that sort of thing. So, but I'm not going to go there two times as a group sort of thing. Just me and my daughter are going to go in and just have a little note about and see what I can pick up really on myself. But yeah, definitely if you're going, Wes is a small world. Look me up and we'll go. Yeah,
that's crazy.
For sure.
It's interesting that you brought that up because I heard about another historic prison that was going to be in the UK that was going to be closing down by 2023. It was HM Prison in Dartmoor, and that's actually been in operation for over 200 years since 1809. And let's see what it says here, because I actually got the page open already. They already have a prison museum, but they said that Her Majesty's Prisons of Dartmoor will be closing in 2023. So might be possibly another location to check out once it eventually closes down 2 years from now. And it looks like, from based on the appearance of this prison, looks like everything they've been using is still original to the structure.
Well, it's really funny, Nick, because you've hit on a couple of things tonight, which I think are hilarious, because I've actually been to Dartmoor. I've been through it. I have a colleague that works there who was the governor of the jail at the time. And he gave me a tour through the whole place, inside and out. There's an American cemetery that's out and behind the institution, because during one of the wars, it housed some of the prisoners of war. All the way back until even the War of 1812, there were inmates in there. There were French soldiers that were imprisoned there. And that place is just off the charts. I so much love going through that place, and I look forward to it opening up.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, I would. If there was a way we could all take a trip together, I'd be there in a heartbeat.
I was saying, Marty, Nick, when the hell are we going over to the UK? This sounds like fun.
We definitely got to.
That's right. We're staying at Kerry's.
Yeah, we'll just stay down.
Okay, you know, I got 6 people I got to take with me, right?
Well,
That's
there's
just
another.
on my end.
There's another incredible prison there called Bodmin Jail.
Yes, Bodmin Jail.
Which Richard wrote a book on, and of course I was in the book as well. And we investigated there for 4 nights a couple of years ago, and what an amazing place! I'm sorry.
What was that like? Because we're hoping to go to Cornwall in the next couple of days. I was hoping to sort of pass through Bodmin and have a look.
Okay, well, you definitely let's hook up on Facebook there, because I know the curator of the paranormal side of the prison there, and I'll introduce you, and you can talk to her. Her name's Kirsten Honey is her name, and just a marvelous person, and you won't regret it. It's they've actually changed it now into a world-class hotel. And they turned all the cells into hotel rooms, and you can actually stay there and experience paranormal activity while you're sleeping.
There's a place over here actually that they turned a prison into a almost like a cul-de-sac area. So it's basically the layout of the prison, but it's now like all the streets are named after like what part of the prison it was. And they're apartments, and they're like posh apartments. And I'm like, I don't know, it's weird. It's very odd what they do with some of these places when they shut them down.
The street names are named after like cell blocks.
Yeah, well, not cell blocks, but there's like,
that's kind of weird.
There's like Chow Hall Road though, and it's like no.
Right, okay.
I was talking about prisons. That actually reminds me of another one in West. I'm sure you probably have seen me post some of this stuff before in the past, but. We actually have a prison here in Illinois that, it closed down about almost 20 years ago, which was Joliet Correctional Center. Mm-hmm. And it's Joliet, for starters, Joliet Correctional Center is the second oldest prison in the state of Illinois. I mean, it was originally constructed back in 1858 and operated until 2002. It was originally supposed to close down almost 100 years earlier, because around 1925, Statesville Prison, which is still in operation, opened up. It was to replace Joliet because Joliet was a much smaller prison, but for some reason whatsoever, they never closed it, so they kept it open for a few more decades until 2002. And now here's an interesting fact for all of you guys. That prison, even when it was still in its days of operation, actually became the site of a well-known movie, which also has Dan Aykroyd in it in the early 80s, which happened to be they shot
Blues Brothers.
Yep, you got it, Wes. Yep, it was shown in a scene of the Blues Brothers. So, but starting 3 years ago, they finally started opening up for both historic and paranormal tours. And the funny thing was, how we're talking about how they convert some of these old prisons. I remember walking around, because this was like my real first like actual prison I went through. I remember walking around the courtyard, and some of us were like, well, this could be like a place where we could have not only paracons, but like movie showings and even like summer festivals. I mean, it's just so wide of space. And apparently from what I'm hearing, it sounds like they actually might be going through with those ideas within the prison courtyard.
Nick, Chantel says, what about the prison you went to recently?
Oh, that was Crown Point Jail out in Crown Point, Indiana. Been there a couple times. That was constructed back in 1882, and that was that was open till about, I think it was in operation until about 1968 or somewhere between the late 1960s and early 1970s when they closed it. But it's been in operation ever since. It's been a museum ever since. They've had it for tours, and it was also most notorious for where John Dillinger served some of his time at, and he actually, it was actually the jail he escaped from, traveled back to Chicago, and was gunned down in what's now called Dillinger's Alley.
Wow.
Why are you making stuff up, Nick?
I'm not. You don't believe me? Go there.
I'm not going to type that up and check it. I'll believe you. I take it. I take your word for it.
Nick,
Nick. It's Nickopedia.
Yeah.
It's the best. I also really quick want to give a shout out to Chantel. I meant to tell her like a couple of weeks ago. She really like made me smile on a day I was not having a good day. So thank you, Chantel, for that. Sorry.
Yes, and thank you, Chantel, for joining us again. Obviously, because you're all the way over in
South Africa.
So it's awesome that you watch our show every week. We love having you on. So thank you for that, Chantel.
And Tuna, I thought Tuna was mad at me. I tried reaching out to Tuna several times through Tuna mail. I got nothing. I got blown off by the Emperor. I'm like,
but yes, over here, like with these prisons, like there's just so much history because of their age. Like a lot of these prisons, they're the original. They've just been added to, like you said, then just built on and built on and built on, and they go back centuries. Like you said, from back in 1812 and even before then. And
Shepton Mallet's 1625, I think. So
yeah,
it's well old.
It's crazy, isn't it? Like, and I mean, it's a lot of them though. They're hard to get to unless you go with a group or stuff like that. They tend to like lock these places down, and it's so hard to get into them, and it's very expensive. But
yes,
well, the other thing is that if you participate in them, of course, obviously you don't need to pay any money, because that's like, for example, I mentioned about Joliet in Crown Point. That's how I was able to get into them without paying the heavy price, if you will, because as long as you're able to participate in this kind of stuff, you don't have to pay anything for it. Although, unfortunately, the reason why we haven't been able to do Joliet lately is, I'm sorry, but some of the people from the Joliet Historical Society, I don't think they liked how we took the tours. They wanted to do things their way, so they kicked us out, unfortunately. And I think they probably knew, something tells me we probably knew more than they did. So, I mean, it's unfortunate, but we are trying to get back into that prison now.
Yeah, definitely get back in there. Wes, what is like, because obviously you've done a lot of investigating in these prisons, what was the best one you investigated for, like, activity wise? What's your like top one that you've been to these prisons?
Well, actually, one of the best ones I've been to is Ohio State Reformatory. Our team investigated that place probably 5 years ago now. Moundsville is a close second in West Virginia State. That was pretty cool too. But Ohio State, I'm pretty sure, Nick, you were there, right? I think I saw some pictures.
Yeah, I was just at Ohio State Penitentiary a few weeks ago.
So you remember that inmate Lockhart cell, the Burning Man? He lit himself on fire. Mm-hmm. Well, we had some amazing activity there, which is posted on our Facebook page, our cops Facebook page. But we actually had a REM pod inside a cell, and we were also obviously doing EVP session. And first of all, our EVP session, we got like a burning sound of like a crackling fire. And I've never heard that ever before on an EVP. It's just like, and the guy burned himself alive in there. So, I mean, that was kind of odd.
Freaking crazy.
And then we were right in his cell, and we were starting to ask questions to him. Nothing, no response at all. And then I got to thinking, working inside a prison, if you ever go inside an inmate cell, they shut right down. Like, they don't want you in there, so they're very quiet. They want you out. So I thought, we're invading his privacy. We're invading his private space. So let's go out. We'll walk down the range a bit, and we'll start asking questions. And well, didn't the REM pod start going off as soon as we started asking questions to our yes and no questions, like immediately? And then when we'd say, shut it off, it would shut off. It was just an absolute, probably one of the best experiences I've had. And yeah, we have that on video on our Facebook page, and it was incredible.
That's incredible. Do you find as well, like being obviously a corrections officer, do you find when you investigate these prisons, you get like more negative activity towards you, obviously because of the inmates and that?
Well, that's a great question. And when I go into a prison to investigate, either two things will happen. Either it'll be off the charts, crazy, like hell's broke loose, or else it'll be deathly silent.
Yeah.
And it's just odd. Like, I don't know why that is. I don't know if they're, in death, they don't want prison officers there, or, who knows? I don't really know. But then other times, you go in and they don't want you in there, and they're very, very active, trying to tell you, get the hell out.
Probably because they saw you in life and they don't want to see you obviously in death.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, not me specifically, I hope, anyway.
Well,
I had a question. What was it? These prisons, obviously, because like they say prisons are very highly haunted. Do you think that's down, maybe like you're saying before about like the negative atmosphere inside prisons because of obviously everything going on, or do you think it's something else, like maybe like the deaths there or something? Or
well, you know what, like when I say this, I'm completely surmising. I have no real idea. I mean, obviously we can just kind of get an idea, but I think, when you have a certain degree of negative, I don't like to use the word evil. I'm not really much in the demonology kind of thing, just my personal opinion. But I think when you have all that negative energy within a place, it kind of creates its own environment. You have all these serial killers and, rapists and just evil doers, and they just, it just imprints on the atmosphere, so you do get a lot of residual stuff, not a lot of intelligent stuff, but definitely a possibility for sure that there's some kind of an imprint of negative stuff in there for sure.
You got to remember as well though, they died negative. They're probably going to be negative.
Yeah, the ones that died there, yeah, I suppose.
And also as well, you got to remember, like, especially the ones from back in the day in the UK, they would have died like from execution, So that's left an imprint in that area.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sorry. I just read Rob's comment. I'm sorry. That was
you'll wake up and curse the drop of the shower every day.
He's the best hype guy. I love him.
Have you investigated anywhere that has death row or anything like that?
Oh yeah. Moundsville had a death row. As did Moundsville's a great place. I suggest that anybody that's over in that area do. Did you do Moundsville, Nick?
No, but it's been on my list for the last couple of years. Even though I haven't been there, I know very well about it though.
Yeah, it's incredible. But I'm sorry, what was your question again? I lost you.
I was just saying, have you investigated anywhere that's got death row light and?
Oh yeah. So yeah, Moundsville. At Bodmin there was the hanging pit there, which is what the name of Richard's book is called, The Hanging Pit. But that there wasn't really kind of a death row. There was a place where they kind of went from their cell to like a holding area before they hung that day. but not specifically a death row. In Ottawa, Ontario, there's actually a place called High Ottawa Jail, and it used to be called the old Rideau Carleton Jail, and that was the spot of Canada's last public hanging. And now it's a hostel, a youth hostel, and you can actually stay in the cells, overnight for like $25 or $30 or like something cheap like that.
Nah,
but,
I'm good,
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Even though you guys did just open your borders up to fully vaccinated people, I think I'm still going to have to pass hard on that one.
Yeah,
I'm good on that one, brother.
I can always meet you at the border.
We'll talk after the show.
You gotta take it back to prison.
There's actually another prison out there that, Wes, I would have recommended this to you, but unfortunately, it still breaks my heart to think about it. We had another prison here down in Southern Illinois. It was called Menard Correctional Center. Did you ever hear of that? You've heard of that one, right?
Yep.
So for the rest of you guys, if you see what Joliet prison looks like, for those who are familiar with Joliet, Menard had kind of a similar appearance like that. This was kind of like the Joliet of Southern Illinois. In fact, prior to 1970, it used to be called Southern Illinois Penitentiary, and that was one of the prisons where, during the time when the death row was actually in progress here in Illinois, we don't carry it anymore, but that was where I think about 13 executions took place. It was the second oldest operating prison. It's still the second oldest operating prison in Illinois, but I found out 3 years ago they tore down the administration building, which it was just devastating to look at, because if you saw pictures of it, it was like people would describe it looked almost like a university than an actual prison, because it had like that library-like appearance. It had stone lions in front. It had skeleton keys, and they tore the whole thing, the original part of it, down. Literally 140 years after it was constructed by inmates. It was originally constructed back in 1878, but even though it's still an active prison, they at least could have closed up that whole portion of it to turn it into a museum, and that would have been a perfect spot for investigations.
Right. Len, I've done overnight in a jail cell. Not great. Not fun. Not fun.
Yeah, I know who Len is. He
sounds like a blast. It's really not. The food sucks. The food sucks.
I know what he's saying.
Wes is like, I ain't saying nothing. Let's stay quiet on that note.
What time are we on? We've got a few minutes. If you guys got any questions, obviously, because we're coming towards the end, if you guys got anything that you wanted to jump in there, or anyone in the comments, if you got something, we've got about 10 more minutes before we go on to the questions. If you got any questions for Wes or any of us.
Say go to the chat if anybody's got something.
Yeah, I've been watching.
A lot of terrible jokes between Chantel and
John Dover.
John. Yes, a lot of just dad jokes for days up there.
They're carrying their own show just through the chat.
Yeah,
Matt said they just brought back firing squads in South Carolina, keeping it classy. That's true. I read about that.
What was I going to say? Sorry. I think it's awesome that you obviously you're still a corrections officer, but you do this as well. And like hats off to you, because obviously I bet you get a lot of pushback from especially a lot of the inmates and stuff if they find out what you do, and I bet you get a lot of stick from them and that.
Yeah, we've been on local television here a couple of times, so they all have televisions in their cells. So, but you know what? It's been a very positive experience so far. I say so far because you never know. But the biggest thing, the way I perform my career, and I've always performed, is just being as empathetic towards these people as possible, and giving them a degree of respect, because my motto was always I'll continue to respect you unless you disrespect me, and then things are going to change. But for the most part, I always have a good. You guys can have a good sense of my sense of humor. I use that a lot in my job. It's a defense mechanism for sure, but it's also a way to make people feel comfortable.
You're a credit to the profession, sir. I'm telling you that, like, right now. Like,
thank
you
you.
know, no holds barred, brother. For real, man. You're a good dude.
Have any of the inmates in the prisons you work in, knowing now, like, the field of work that you're in, outside this, doing the paranormal society stuff, have they ever come up to you saying any stories that they have?
Ooh.
Oh yeah. We've had inmates. Actually, I've had inmates at the institution that I'm at have come up to me and said, the place I work at is relatively new, but one of our oldest prisons shut down back in 2014, called Kingston Penitentiary, and it was the oldest one in Canada, 1835.
Wow.
And we've been trying to get in there. I'm telling you something, to try to get into any kind of government facility in Canada is next to impossible. There's so much red tape. They don't want you going in there to do, like, they kind of treat paranormal people as being a bunch of kids, you know, having a fun game.
Breaking and entering, right?
Yeah. So I've been trying to get in there for the last 7 years. I've gone all the way up to Ottawa to talk to somebody about it and still get declined. So I don't know if it was because, you know, I didn't have the right smile on my face that day or what, but you know, it's just crazy, you know, like they're so, Canada is such a conservative country. It's very difficult to, you know, do and perform things like that.
And we have some of that, you know, some of those same issues here, obviously in the U.S. I mean, honestly, it doesn't really matter exactly where you're from. You're always going to run into those problems.
Yes, everywhere sucks.
One way or another.
Let's just deal with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just looking up what the Kingston Penitentiary looks like, and yeah, I mean, I definitely agree, Wes. I mean, it's just like, it looks like an awesome place to investigate, but it's just amazing how they just keep declining you from ever investigating it.
Yeah, and we're basically at the top of the list. They said, you know, if we ever change our mind, you know, we'll have you guys come in first because you're correctional officers, so we'll, you know, we can trust you. But
yeah.
Right.
It's which might be a mistake, but but you know, but Kingston Penitentiary for sure would be an awesome place to investigate. You can tell by the pictures, Nick, that it's very British in the way they built it. It's made almost completely of limestone. And if anybody in the paranormal field knows what limestone does, you know, it can create a lot of energy.
Right.
That's right.
So
I mean, that's like with
stone tape theory, right?
Just like Joliet and Moundsville. I mean, those are Mansfield. I mean, those are all constructed of limestone right there.
Yeah, for sure. So it just kind of absorbs all the energy, right?
Yeah.
And it's all there.
It's like a sponge. Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's not even just energy; it's like even just natural, like earth stuff. Limestone it's got a lot of unique properties.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, if you look actually past history, I mean, another prison I can think of again in Southern Illinois, and Wes, you're going to probably know this one too because this is also in Alton as well, is the very first state prison in Illinois, which was Alton State Prison. And for a lot of people who always wondered, why is it just the corner piece? Like, why is the corner piece just there? Well, it turns out that around 1865, later part of 1865, the prison actually closed, and some parts of the buildings, which again were made of limestone, were taken apart and then were actually used in other parts of the town. They were used for foundations, they were used for walls, they were used for bridges, different types of infrastructure. And that's probably one of the reasons why Alton is, considered one of the most haunted small towns in America because of that limestone.
Just kind of spread the love on that.
Kerry,
literally.
There's a question, I think, mainly for you. Kim says, this is something I've been struggling to ask. So she says, so for years I've been wondering, things that I say or mention always comes true. As I get older, I really have to watch what I say. What would you call this?
It could be a couple of things. She could be channeling from her spirit guides, so they could be coming through and saying things. So she's got to put a filter on really and say, is that appropriate? Or I don't know. It could be many things really, but it could be her spiritual guide coming through and saying something.
Or you're just really like unlucky, or really
On point with stuff.
Yeah, on point. Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah,
maybe you're seeing
just
something.
picking up on the atmosphere, the energy of somebody if it isn't her guide. Just try and be careful what leaves your mouth, sort of thing. And sometimes in my readings, like I have to be quite careful how we put things across, and
you got to filter it.
Upsetting people and stuff.
Yeah,
Sounds like a correctional officer.
I do, yeah.
Have to do the same thing.
All right, what we got to then? All right, so we're just starting to run over, but anyway, Wes, it's been awesome having you on. It's been like fantastic speaking to you and hearing what you've done, and like the questions from you guys as well have been awesome. Like to hear what you've investigated, and it's been awesome. And the guys in the comments, thank you for joining us tonight. It's been fantastic. I've been reading all your comments. It's been brilliant. But Wes, this is the point in the show we get to where we just do a bit of fun. It's the general questions. It's a little game called Shot in the Dark, and it's just a couple of general questions. We just see who can win. I think who won last week? Was it you? No, it wasn't. Who was you? Oh, it's Kerry. Yeah,
always Kerry.
Kerry.
It's always Kerry. Kerry's a winner. Damn it.
But just a bit of fun. But, guys, please follow Wes. His links are all down below in the description. Obviously, cops behind him on the poster there. That's you follow him on Facebook. Some fantastic stuff. I've been flicking through your page today, and that is some awesome content on there. So, guys, please go check him out. And also, everyone else that's tonight. Obviously, Adam, we're going to be on your channel
next week. Yeah, next week, where we have a special show all about
Mr. Nick. yeah. We're going to be
our buddy.
Yeah.
Finally giving this man the love he needs and deserves.
Listen, he's on your channel. He's in the hot seat.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. Yeah. Oh, I also wanted to mention I'm super excited. Sorry. Woo. Nick, I think you're probably one of the only people that can appreciate this. July 9th, I am going to Auburn, New York to watch Evil Dead 1 and 2 on the big screen, hosted by Bruce Campbell.
Oh!
So, just got the tickets last night. Super psyched. Okay.
So jealous. Damn it. You know what? And there's just one thing I got to say about that. Groovy.
Right on. That's enough out of me. I'm fired.
Check out everyone else's links. They're all below. And, of course, Kerry's shop, her Etsy shop as well, where obviously Marty's bought some of her...
right here. Kerry's on. She knows I got her card. Right?
Yeah. And also, you're on especially on TikTok, aren't you? That's where your main platform is. But they're all below anyway for you guys.
On Instagram.
Yeah, so we'll get into the questions then. So... Yeah, I'll try not. I've been reading these ones. So.
Oh God!
Has you been cheating? Okay.
No. I've read like the questions. I've not.
Amy, what? You're supposed to be watching him. What are you doing? Go back to yelling at Tom, will you, Amy? That's fun.
Last week I led with what was a slavery question, didn't I? And it's like. I can't remember the show or not.
Oh yeah,
that's the day my mother stopped in, and it went just south real fast.
It went south, didn't it? But these ones are better.
With the foo-foo.
Oh yeah, the foo. Let's start that again.
Anyway, so first one is: how long did Britney Spears' shortest marriage last?
I even know she was married.
Yeah,
it's 0 days.
I'm gonna say 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
That's a good guess.
That's pretty good, yeah.
24 hours, I say.
24 hours.
24 hours.
3 months.
48 hours, Rob says.
Yeah, I believe that was with Kevin Federline.
Oh.
So I'm going to say that was, not that I know, stop. But I'm going to say...
in the house?
No. The show's over. I'm going to say, 48 hours sounds right on. 48 hours, I'm going to have to up and
I was going to say, like, I could have sworn it was, like, between, 50 or 55, maybe 60 hours or something like that. Somewhere around there.
Silly, yeah.
I'm going to go say the same day. I think it's the same day.
Same day.
That'd be something.
Get married.
It's like, it was a great wedding. Yeah, about that. I want out. What?
All What we got? Any more answers? 2 years? I think that's a bit generous.
They got 4 days, 4 days, 2
I
years.
just gave you 3 months.
I think, well, whoever said 48 hours, you're the closest. It lasted 55 hours.
Oh, who the hell? Somebody. Yeah, Nick just said like 55. He literally said 55.
Oh, sorry, Nick.
Oh my God.
Good God.
That had to be a publicity stunt. There's no way. How do you get married in less than 2 days you get divorced? Like,
that is
you
literally.
should have known that wasn't going to work before you got
He
married.
did it again.
That was what, 2 nights? And then you divorced.
Right.
Yeah, her first marriage was Pee Wee Herman, I believe.
That's not funny.
No way.
Oh my God. All right.
And then she shaved her head.
Yeah.
Oh my
Oh my
God.
God! Yeah, that was.
Leave Britney alone.
She has 2 children with Kevin.
Oh, God.
All right, next question is, the amount spent globally on eradicating poverty is estimated to be $66 billion per year. How much is spent on the military globally?
Globally?
Not UK military, because it's nothing, it's minus.
You owe the government money for it.
So globally, how much is spent on the military?
I'd say $1 trillion.
I was going to say $2
$1
trillion. Yeah.
$3 trillion.
4 then.
Yeah, that's my girl. I'm going with Kerry 4. But they're really big 4.
I'm going to go math. I'm going to go 100 trillion. I'm going to go big.
$100 trillion.
Oh, Matt just said 100 trillion.
I mean, maybe.
Oh, he's just biting off of you.
3 trillion, 10 trillion. It's going to be a lot. 450 billion. 50 trillion. It is approximately 1.8 trillion.
Hey, I think Wes was the closest.
Yeah, good on you.
I said $2 trillion.
Yeah, nobody's talking to you.
Like I was
I can't even win when I get close. Are you kidding me?
I was just taking into account the British Navy, so I just figured.
Honestly, we're not even going there anyway. Okay, next one. How long did the 100 Years' War last?
Oh, damn it! I know this one.
Oh.
I think it's 113 years, I think.
Yeah, it's a trick.
I couldn't remember if it was over or under.
109 years.
109?
110.
I was going to say maybe 115.
I'm going to say 80.
80? I'm going to say 95.
They were all drinking with their friends. They're like, oh, it's like 100 years. It's like, really? No, yeah, sure.
Chantel says South Africa just spent $60 million on masks, which only cost $20 million.
That's about normal.
Wow.
123 years, 113 years.
35 hours.
55 hours.
Oh, 55 hours.
Today
Oh, that's worse. Even with the glasses, I can't read. That's terrible.
All right, the 100 Years' War fought between England and France started in 1337 and lasted 116 years.
I was the closest.
Nick,
Early, you're pretty close. Almost bang on.
Nick, you're on
116
fire.
years.
115.
No, seriously, Nick, you're on fire. Put yourself out.
Yeah.
All right, then last one. We'll go for the last one, and then we'll wrap it up because we are running over. What percentage of children say that their parents do not embarrass them at all?
That don't embarrass them?
Yeah,
Zero.
That's going to be wow.
14.
Half a percent.
Yeah,
0.5%. My parents never embarrassed me. I always worked hard to embarrass my parents. So I'm like, I'm gonna flip that script.
5%.
Oh, I definitely embarrass my
I'm going to
kids.
say about 20.
I do it all the time.
What about you? What's
44.
40?
Ooh, ballsy.
That one,
Okay.
yeah.
Wes, do you have kids?
Matt says 15 faces 1.
Oh, my
Jeff says
daughter
10.
says. My
Is that
daughter
Faye?
says one. She knows I am.
Aw,
Yeah.
bless her.
Wes, do you have kids?
Is that you she's on about? Is it? You're that 1%.
Yeah, I'm the one person.
Yeah, do you have kids, Wes?
Yes, I have one. Yep.
Okay.
And you're saying 44%? Do you not embarrass your kids? Or do you embarrass them way too much?
Cool, Dad.
Well, I try not to think like I try not to think like I do, but who knows? Maybe I do.
She's embarrassing. Oh, damn. Oh, that's your daughter. And that says the embarrassment doesn't really kick in until teenage years. Yeah.
Yeah, true. Yeah. The answer is 12%.
I said 14. Was I close? Did I win? Am I cool yet?
Okay.
Very well there, yeah. 12%.
All right.
Who said 14?
Hefty.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Good.
Yeah, good effort.
I was kind of thinking maybe Nick would put that in precise hours, but
If it were a longer show, he'd be on it.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's been a fantastic show anyway.
yeah,
Obviously.
thank you very much for having me. I
Thanks for
really
being on,
appreciate
man.
it.
Thank you so much
You
for
guys
being
are a
on.
great bunch of people. I had a great time, and
Thank
you.
you know, really creative questions, not the regular drab ones. So I
Yeah.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been.
I look forward to following you on Facebook and anywhere else I can bug you at.
and of course, Wes, we'll definitely have you back on at some point.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
100%.
Thanks.
Definitely.
Sure, sounds good.
Guys in the comments, thank you so much for joining us. It's been
Dad Gus Zach, thank you for the paranormal share for Singapore. Holy
Wow.
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 That's my daughter.
That's your daughter?
Yeah. She's embarrassed, right?
She's
I embarrassed her. So she moved to Singapore. So.
Wow, Asian Paranormal Activity Group. Interesting.
Oh.
I'll mute it.
What about mutant deaf ones that can't answer? What?
All right, guys. Yeah, so next week, I can't remember what we're doing. You'll see it advertised over the weekend. I'm not busy at the moment. I don't even know where I am. So
That's next Friday is July 2nd.
I can't remember.
I need to start writing these people's names down.
Yeah, we will have a show anyway next
We're
Friday.
very organized here, Wes, as you can plainly see.
I can't believe you got my name right.
I was just going to call you CEO for the rest of the show, but
That's okay. Sure.
Call
me anything. I've been called a lot of things.
Yeah.
probably by better, too.
We're going to try and do a video tomorrow night, aren't we? Yeah, we'll try and do a video tomorrow night for you guys. If we get anything, you should see it hopefully sometime next week in between work and everything else. If we don't, obviously, we'll see you next Friday. Wes, again, thank you so much for coming on and everybody else. And we will catch you next week. Take it easy.
Stay spooky.
I got to make the announcement for tonight.
Okay.
Just quick announcement for tonight. We'll be on. I'll be briefly on 13th Dimension with Jeremy. For those of you guys who don't know, it's going to be his last appearance on the Pun Network as he's taking a hiatus. He'll be back on He'll be back with season 2 of the 13th Dimension sometime in late September, early October. But although I'm going to be on it, I'm only going to be on for about 10-15 minutes because the last episode he wants to do is something called it's about suicide awareness. So it's a much more serious episode. And also, if you guys would like, I know you guys haven't really seen much, but Jeremy's actually trying to get more videos, like just people just send like a minute video to him because he's making like a video montage, just like kind of like a huge thing. I already sent mine. So if you guys want to shoot a video for Jeremy and send it, before the show tonight, which is going to air in about almost 3 hours from now, you guys, feel free to. And also, I'll be on another show later tonight, which is going to be called the Shadow Hour with Greg Coe. So I got 2 shows tonight, and then finally, Wes, I thought I should tell you this too. I'll be back on Matt TV tomorrow night. So who knows? He may. I don't know what your schedule is going to be like, but if you want to hop on, on Matt's show, I'm sure he'll probably be happy to have you on as well.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
Okay, guys, take it easy. We'll see you.
Buy stuff from Kerry. Buy stuff from Kerry.
Take it easy, guys. Catch you later.
Later.
Take care.